So South Africa, as you may know, recently took Israel to an international tribunal claiming genocide. There has been some talk that they're actually funded by Iran and it helped them just purely economically, so that's why they did it and they were just pawns. But either way, the government chose to take Israel to task, to court, claiming that they were committing genocide, which is of course an absurd, obscene and heinous accusation, and it's slanderous and it's libelous. And it's a modern day blood libel. But here's some refreshing news. This is Gayton McKenzie, who is a South African minister, and he has a very different view of things. Watch him speak out in favour of Israel. Have a watch.
McKenzie, do you want to see a free and sovereign Palestine?
I think they lie when they say white men can't dance. John has been dancing around the question here. He's not been answering the question. No, let me answer you the question. Number one, there's no genocide happening there. Number two, no, hear me out. Let me answer you.
When children are starving, that's
no.
Not
Let
genocide.
me answer you. Don't tell me how I should answer you. Number two, let me tell you something. If I'm the president of this country, and let's say Lesotho comes here and they take hostages and they take children, and I will bomb Lesotho, and if they want peace, they must return the children. Nothing tells you about peace. And if I become president, I will stop that case of the ICJ, simply because the honorable minister pursues Israel. Yesterday, 22 people are shot here in Missos Plain, more than the IC, more than in Ramallah in Palestine. They are wearing scarves of Palestine, while our people die here more than Palestine. Today they say we must be enemy. Jewish people are the enemy. I grew up poor. It was a Jewish woman in Operation Hunger that was giving us food. It was the Jewish people that went to Mandela to jail. So nobody will tell me Hamas is a terrorist organization that should be destroyed totally.
Wow. Well, he really hit on all the big points there. And how refreshing to realise that what some people in the government of South Africa may articulate does not by any means represent even other people in the parliament and in the government, let alone the rest of South African society. Few big points. Number one, it's not a genocide. Genocide is when you go against another people with an aim to destroy them. They're your peaceful neighbours and you rise up and try to wipe them out. A just war is when you fight those trying to commit genocide. Hamas are the ones guilty of genocide. Their aim, their intention, and what they did in terms of their approach to fighting the Jews is genocidal. What Israel is doing is a moral and just war. And it's not about numbers, and it's not even about civilian casualties, even though it's really important to remember that with 80% of the populace supporting Hamas on October 7th, and many of them complicit, that it's not quite as simple as calling them all civilians and meaning they're entirely innocent and have no complicity. But either way, Israel is focusing on getting rid of Hamas, and the way she is doing it is totally, totally justified. It's moral. War is horrific, but it's moral. Sometimes necessary. The second point that I think is so critical that he's making is, why are we so focused on this? South Africa has a lot of problems to deal with. A lot of violence, actually, that it has on its doorstep to deal with. And instead, they're focusing on slandering Israel when she's fighting a just war many, many miles away. He understands that, actually, people point to the Jews and they point to Israel when they themselves have their own problems that they want to distract you from. The Jews are the scapegoats. They are pointed to because people themselves don't want to deal with their own issues. Tell me what you accuse the Jews of, and I'll show you what you are guilty of, said the late Russian writer Vasily Grossman. And it's always been that way. And lastly, that point he makes, actually it was Jewish people that helped him. Jewish people have been at the forefront of supporting civil rights causes in South Africa, in America, and throughout the world. And even as Israel fights existential battles, she's been a light in terms of helping other nations. Look at Israel Aid. Look at all the work they do in terms of emergency humanitarian relief around the world. Despite Israel being scapegoated throughout history, being persecuted, being mislabeled, falsely accused of, killing children, whether it was the blood libels of medieval Europe or of today when she fights the wars of survival. Despite all those things, Israel still is a blessing to others, blessing to the world, as this minister said, was a blessing to him. Israel is a divine nation. There's no other way to explain how you can have a people so small, so scattered, so intensely persecuted. And when I say scattered, I mean for most of their history. Yes, what's happened recently with Israel's re-establishment is a new development. For most of our history, we've been scattered everywhere. And yet, despite all these challenges, the Jewish people have not only survived, as other great empires and nations that have targeted the Jews have fallen, but they've thrived. They've transformed the world values. And the only way in my books that you can explain that is by showing and recognizing the divine hand underneath it all. So it's great to see this clip. I really thought it'd be important for you to see that, because it should remind you all that sometimes those with the loudest barks do not represent the silent majority that have a common sense and a common morality.
Thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.